are 11% off now at Menards. Good through May 8th. Savings are mail-in rebate. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Save big money at Menards.
Isn't this a sports show?
Papa, tell me about the radio days. Oh, well, there were many struggles and many difficulties.
Almost entirely.
I remember hearing this one radio show where they did nothing but visual gags on an audio medium. The host did a whole segment with his nose taped to his forehead.
This is Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco.
Papa, whatever happened to him? Son, I don't think you're ready for that story. All I can tell you is don't do cocaine. Too late, Papa! I learned it from watching you!
Take the show with you by listening on the Sports Radio 810 mobile app at 810WHB.com or by searching for Almost Entirely Sports wherever you get your podcasts.
You did this to me, Papa! I just wanted to be like you, Papa!
This is Almost Entirely Sports on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Draft breakdown week continues. Am I breaking down or are we breaking down the draft? Who's to say? I just know that even here now on a Tuesday, we'll check in again tomorrow, we'll check in again on Thursday, we'll check in again on Friday. But I know right now, notwithstanding the fact that we were live all draft Friday and Saturday, I am still very much enjoying talking about the Kansas City Chiefs 2022 NFL Draft. Plus, we have new audio from Brett Veach. He spoke to the media today and gave us some really good stuff, from Justin Ross to the DBs they drafted, to Lonnie Johnson, to Darian Kennard, to Melvin Ingram, and the rest of that defensive line. Also some little sort of sub-hints within some of the hints. I'm 3 layers deep on Brett Veach's press conference from today. I was telling Rudy this before the show as I was kind of finalizing what pieces of audio I cut, only to know that we'll only get to like 2 of them over the course of our 2 hours with you here tonight. I don't expect to actually get through everything, but everything I just mentioned, I've got clips for. And then we're here now, and then immediately in the 9 o'clock hour, I'll be joined by Seth Keysor of the Chief in the North newsletter. It's a Seth Tuesday. But I was telling Rudy before the show that Brett Veach, who has always done like good press conferences, and I, like, not to give the game away on, maybe some of our disagreements of recent past or whatever, but I think Brett Veach knows what he's doing and what he's talking about, and I think that he is a good, like, educator of his job in these press conferences where he's, like, honestly kind of just saying things that are happening around him. There are different levels to it, though, because the thing I told Rudy before the show is that Brett Veach's press conferences are so much better whenever he doesn't have secrets to keep. That's the biggest difference from Brett Veach's presser today and his one from last Friday before the draft. Before the draft, he gave us some pretty good stuff. But, he's always like, you got to keep a little bit of that smoke screen up in front of you. You can't say out loud that we love Trent McDuffie, and if he gets past 15, we're going to start trying to look at moving up. You can't just say all of that out loud every step of the way. But today, the Chiefs roster is pretty well locked in, and there's some stuff in here that I just think we learned from Brett Veach today. And I always really appreciate that, especially whenever he doesn't have to hide much from us, and he can just say things like, I didn't cut the audio for this, but like how Clark Hunt kept reminding him that he couldn't trade next year's first-round pick because the draft will be in Kansas City. And then so his response was to continue to remind Clark Hunt that the Raiders didn't have a first or a second in this year's draft. A real exchange that he told the story of today. All a little tongue-in-cheek, but a true story.
Plus, I think Clark knows that there's a player that's going to be available in the first round next year, and you really need your assets available to trade up and go snag your future franchise. I'm not going to call him a quarterback because that's underselling how good of an athlete he is. Will Levis will be everything that Sean Payton truly believed Taysom Hill would be. Just Will Levis is good and Taysom Hill is not. Chiefs are obviously going to draft him next year.
It's really effed up to me, Rudy, that we have Brett Veach on the record today talking about 2 former Kentucky Wildcats who are currently on the Kansas City Chiefs roster, and you are making it about next year's quarterback.
I love a quarterback.
That's
my quarterback.
I just think that's
my quarterback, Josh.
You got your wish 2 times over.
I might get it again next year with Will Levis.
I thought the Chiefs hated corners. You thought they hated Kentucky players. They changed those narratives in like a 4-day span.
Well, here's what I will say. Let's wait till we get halfway through training camp, because when you were acquired for a 2024 7th-round conditional draft pick, I'm just gonna say your roster spot isn't secured yet.
Yes,
so
fair.
I
said currently on the roster.
If they decide, which they're not going to, because Lonnie Johnson Jr. is just, he's Cam Chancellor, kind of, I think is probably a comparable, player.
Like Cam Chancellor would be a poor man's Lonnie Johnson Jr.
Absolutely. So, he's obviously, he's going to be starting, right? Like, that's just duh.
You remember Darrell Revis?
Yeah.
And Troy Polamalu?
Absolutely.
And Ed Reed?
Yes.
And Nadi Asamoah?
Yeah.
At the peak of his powers? If you combined all of those guys into one player, they would never go to Kentucky because they go to a real football school instead.
We are a football school.
Yeah, that's what they say.
It is what they say.
So we got new stuff from Veach. We got draft picks we haven't actually really talked about yet. We got Seth at 9.
Kentucky had the ranked 7th in NFL draft picks, value draft picks.
It was just a joke, man.
Back off.
I just made a joke. You back off. You got 2 Wildcats on this team and you won a 3rd.
Yeah, a 4th and a 5th. Should have got Wandale. He'd been fun to watch.
You go show up to Brett Veach's office just with a binder. It'll be like a little kid trying to send in his scouting reports drawn in crayon. I want you to draw your scouting reports in crayon.
Josh, I'm an adult. I have markers.
And then you've just drawn a big wildcat on the front in blue marker. It's bleeding through the paper. And you just hand him the binder, and then you, in your adult voice at 6'4", just go, "Hey, Brett, I scouted all the Wildcats for you guys. Would love it if you'd select a few of them next year."
They're all worth first-round picks.
He opens it up, and there's just like a booger on one of the pages. Some of it's clearly been done in finger paint. It's like, hey, man, I don't understand what you're doing here. This doesn't make... Listen, with all due respect, sir, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. And frankly, I'd rather you take this binder with you so I don't have to go through the painful process of throwing it away immediately.
They like their Kentucky guys. I've been saying it all along. You know what the funny thing, honestly, is? All it took was for both of us truly giving up on the belief that they would ever draft a quarterback at the first round or that they would ever draft a player from Kentucky for it to happen. We just truly had to have our hearts fully ripped out, right? All hope was completely vanished. And then it happened.
I think that's a great life lesson.
Yeah.
Kids, if there's something you really want, and I love every once in a while I hear that, that we are there's a parent driving a car, and then eventually we hear from that parent that we are their kid's favorite radio show. I'm being extremely serious right now. That warms my heart full of joy. I could make Santa's sleigh fly through the air with all the Christmas spirit that I get whenever I hear about that. Warms my heart. Kids, if you're listening right now, if you've gotten your mom or dad or brother or sister, whoever it is, to if you're just enjoying almost entirely sports with a driver in your life, hear Rudy and I here now. Hear us crystally clear. And your parents are going to tell you not to listen to this, and they're going to say, "Oh, they're just joking." Don't listen to them.
We're dead serious.
This is so serious. If there's something you really want in your life, kids, give up.
Stop believing.
Stop believing. Just give up, stop believing, and eventually definitely don't work for it. You're going to work for something that the only real way to get it is by your total indifference? Let it go. Let it go. Your favorite movie? Don't hold it back anymore.
Disney's been telling you this for ages. But they have to do it subtly, right? They can't. It's subtext. They can't just straight up tell you this. Otherwise, parents aren't taking them to the movies. They probably still would, but that's what we're here for. We're here to tell you what Disney's been trying to tell you all this time. Give up.
And you might say it's funny how some distance makes everything seem small, and all the fears that once controlled me can't get to me at all. And I would say that's beautiful, and you're right. Just give up. Let it go. Before the draft, I said it's time to... Actually, excuse me. Before the draft, exclusive, #sources say that Brett Veach looked in the mirror and said, it's time to see what I can do. To test the limits and break through. No right, no wrong, no rules for me. I'm free. Let it go. Brett, he said.
Also sounds like something he will definitely say next year whenever he trades away the first-round pick a day before the draft is hosted in Kansas City. He's like, I know you've been told not to.
Let it
you
go.
can do it.
Let it go.
Let it go. That's his speech to
Clark Hunt.
to the Clarks.
To the Clarks
He
family.
walks into the Clarks office and just says it verbatim.
He walks out instead of letting Roger Goodell announce a pick at 32 overall on a 14-degree April day, and he grabs the microphone and he pulls it to his face and he just goes, "The cold never bothered me anyway."
It would actually be cool
And then they trade back.
if they let...
They trade for Arian Foster. Kevin Costner drops
I'd be
down from
down
the
with
drops down from the World War I memorial. He rappels down.
It would actually be cool if they let like Brett Veach come out and like make the Chiefs pick.
I think that
was
we
at
should.
32.
I think we should have
Like the host city should be able to do their first round pick.
I'd like to just see all the GMs do it. I think because you could really, or you just have to pick the person in the organization who's most excited about the pick.
Yeah, I still want Roger out there for the other 31 because I do enjoy the fact that here's the thing. A lot of people don't like Roger. We're on a first name basis. That's why I just call him Roger.
Yeah, you guys are close.
A lot of people don't like Raj. I personally respect the heck out of a man who is just fine with being a punching bag for millions of fans. And not that he has no power, but he's not even the boss of the NFL.
That's right.
He has 32 bosses.
That's right. It's a bad ratio.
And he is in this position because he will just take hit after hit after hit. And you know what? He does it with a smile. You know why? Because he gets the bag. And he
Huge bags of cash.
He never complains about. You know how many other commissioners have complained about the position they were in, which is not a bad position to be. Roger's just like, hey, I am happy to take every left hook to the face. You want to punch me in the groin? Go ahead, because guess what? I have a private jet plane. I got a lot of respect for that man.
Okay, so I definitely think he definitely has to walk out and open the draft, right?
Yes, yeah. I need the booze. I need him being like, come on, like, give it to me more.
Yeah.
You're quiet.
Yeah.
I want him antagonizing the crowd.
Each time he gets booed more, he makes a little more money.
I want him, honestly, when he comes out for the first pick in Kansas City, to just start, like, as the fans are booing him, to really get at the crowd, just, like, step on some ribs. Like, actual barbecue ribs, right? Like, insult the people.
Go pee in a fountain.
Yeah, well,
I'm just trying to think of a disrespectful Kansas City-based thing that he could do.
I don't know if that would really make people that mad.
I don't know. It feels disrespectful, though, right?
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair.
He just turns into one of those little Calvin decals you see on the back of truck windows sometimes. Instead of peeing on a Ford logo, it's just into a fountain.
Yeah, that's fair. I just really want to see Roger just like really get the crowd riled up.
He goes, he walks up and he says, "Hello, barbecue capital of the world. We are in Memphis, right? Can you imagine? Can you imagine? Union Station might come down."
No, you know what he needs to do?
Oh, no.
You know what he needs to do?
Oh, yes.
He needs to welcome everybody to the great
state of Kansas. Yes. Yes. Yes.
We know each other too well.
We have to stop being around each other.
God, if he does that, I'd be so happy. I would be so happy.
Oh, man.
It's like, man, can't wait till the Chiefs are out there at the Legends, man. That's going to be that beautiful stadium out there is going to be great.
Wow. Okay, so we've written Roger Goodell's heel turn entrance for sure. That's done. My counterpoint to him, so he's got to come out and do that whole bit. But then after that, my argument for why you should let the most excited person in an organization make the pick is imagine Dan Campbell running out and putting a shoulder into Roger Goodell so he can say, Aiden Hutchinson!
I was going to say...
He won't even say defensive end Michigan. He'll just say, Aiden Hutchinson!
Whoever in theory would have made the pick for Jacksonville, before he had finished saying the player's name...
Yes. Trent Baalke would have walked out and he would have gone, all right, with the first pick, we're going to take Trayvon Walker, I guess. Bam!
Dan Campbell would have bit a kneecap, bit Baalke's knee, took him to the ground, jumped up, and just yelled, Aiden Hutchinson.
Woo! Like a big Ric Flair kind of moment. Yeah, I think that'd be really good.
That would be fun. Man, that pick happened so fast.
I saw somewhere the NFL was mad.
Campbell.
The NFL was like mad that the Lions didn't take up enough clock time. That's prime advertising space.
For sure. I get it, but
So
also
good.
I'm just like, man, Dan Campbell's weird, and there's like a little bit of the, when he was first hired, there was like a little bit, I guess, of the macho man football player. Like, this feels a little outdated. And now I'm just like, I love this lovable goof.
I can't remember when the first time that he cried at the podium was, but somewhere around then I was in.
Yeah.
Because you're right. It's not just big tough man, eat nails, eat kneecaps, drink coffee, but also like, because I think sometimes that comes off as really performative. You know, it's just very, big tough, no emotion, feel nothing, just football. It's like, I don't really know if that's a real human being in there. But then it's like they tied or barely lost or whatever, and he came out. His hat was crooked, and he was just crying. It's like, man.
He just genuinely loves football so much.
He just wants to win.
It's just the only... He just loves it so freaking much.
He wants Jared Goff to be good more than Jared Goff wants to be good. And not even great, just okay. He just wants Jared Goff to be all right. What a time.
Dan Campbell's too good for Detroit.
Oh, I disagree.
Well,
I think it's a brilliant.
He
marriage.
really fits the city, like the fan base well, right? I just mean the organization. Like,
fair enough.
I like Dan Campbell. Detroit's generally not a well-run team, and I think, hey, what's the one thing that's been the constant throughout all these years? Generally ownership, right? These things are usually kind of go hand in hand. Dan Campbell, unfortunately, I feel like one day will be fired, and the record will be poor, and now he is of a certain color, so he'll probably get another chance.
He will.
But, if he doesn't, it's going to be a real shame.
I mean, he's definitely already on. He was the interim Dolphins head coach for like a hot minute. You don't get an NFL head coaching job with Dan Campbell's credentials if you don't look like Dan Campbell. We've covered this. This isn't a secret.
Have we?
Yeah, we've talked about
We're
this
talking
before.
about the beard?
The goatee. Yeah, you
Yeah,
have
the
to have a
goatee?
goatee to earn. You have to have powerful facial hair. That's the gist of it.
That's why Eric Bieniemy hasn't get it, because he has no hair, face or head.
Sometimes whenever he grows out that beard a little bit, I think he looks like a head coach to me. I think maybe that'll do it. Well, I got really serious there at the end. We were just having fun singing "Let It Go," and then Rudy was like, "Dude, hey, don't forget that the NFL is like fundamentally racist on a core level." It's like, "Oh, good point, man. Good point." I was kind of having fun thinking about Dan Campbell eating Trent Baalke's legs one piece at a time, but
that draft in Kansas City next year, huh?
Oh man, Dan Campbell could barbecue Trent Baalke's kneecaps. Are you kidding me? And then Roger Goodell would come over and squirt some Sweet Baby Rays over it. Go! Damn you, Roger! You got us again! Anyway. I want to play some Brett Veach audio. Intern Adhel is beginning her final week interning with Almost Entirely Sports. I don't know if we should do like a celebration or a sad thing. Like you said, you went happy.
I mean, it's good for her to get out of here.
That's a good point.
Again, literally every one of our interns are more successful than us, so like it is nothing but up from here.
That's a great point. Okay, so Adhel, you've almost like paid your dues, I guess, sort of like not in radio, just like in life. Like this is you have banked up so much good karma from having to be here with us as much as you have, that from here on out, there's definitely some good things coming. So that's a good point.
Back to how we started the show off. You don't even have to try.
Just stop trying. Just don't even try anymore. You're welcome.
Everything's just going to fall in place.
And these are great life lessons that you were able to learn while interning for Almost Entirely Sports.
Stop trying.
You're welcome. So we have headlines with the Internchin. We have some Brett Veach audio. We have Seth Keysor coming up at 9. We should take a break right now. What do we want to do next? Do we want to go headlines next or Veach next? Probably going to do headlines next and then sneak in a
let's
Veach
do headlines.
clip.
That way we know where we're at with Veach.
Good news is we've always got tomorrow.
Show started just like we planned in our pre-show meeting. Thanks, Roger.
I have like 9 minutes of Brett Veach clips.
That's 2 clips.
It's like 4 clips from today, and now we're here instead. S. Wallaby on Twitch has commented, bugs? Let me open up let's open up this Amazon app real quick. Let's take a quick look, because I ordered them a while ago. The arrival date, though, not a prime delivery. Ultimately, the chocolate covered bugs.
Well, the problem is there's that computer chip, shortage. There's also a bug shortage.
Oh man!
Thanks, COVID.
It is apparently shipped, and it currently says, let's see, what day is today? Today is the 3rd. Oh, we're gonna be okay. I think we're gonna have bugs by Adele's last day is gonna be Thursday or Friday. We're gonna have bugs. We'll take a break. We'll come back and do some headlines, and we'll hear from Brett Veach, Seth Keysor in half an hour, and somewhere in there we'll probably play at least one audio clip. But the good news is there's always tomorrow. Just give up.
Want more Almost Entirely Sports? Watch the show live on the Sports Radio 810 Facebook page.
As an employer, are you having a hard time finding great people for your company? Let Sports Radio 810 help you with your search. Many local companies are taking advantage of the 810 Jobs Connection program. Recruitment is tough right now. The online search engines are packed with all your competitors. Sports Radio 810 Job Connections is a turnkey program designed to help you find your next hire. For more information, contact Sandy Cohen at scohen@unionbroadcasting.com. That's scohen@unionbroadcasting.com.
Sports Radio 810 WHB is bringing the national champion KU basketball players to Rockhurst High School Friday. You can get your tickets at barnstormingtour.com. Tickets are all-inclusive with autographs, player meet and greet, Q&A, and an interactive experience. GA and VIP reserved tickets are available. Upgrade your VIP experience with dinner with the players after the event. Join Sports Radio 810 WHB Friday when we bring the national champion Kansas basketball players to Rockhurst High School. Visit barnstormingtour.com.
Mother's Day is Sunday, May 8th, and there are so many reasons to give a gift of fine jewelry from Shane Company.
Dear Mom, what can I say? You're amazing. From being team mom at my Little League games to putting up with me when I was a wild teenager. You've taught me so much, and I'm forever grateful. Happy Mother's Day.
A gift of fine jewelry is truly special. It's something Mom will treasure forever. Shane Company has gifts in every price range, crafted with attention and care. Stunning diamond jewelry, classic styles with sapphires, beautiful cultured pearls. Get her something stylish and colorful, like huggy earrings with vibrant gemstones. Available in either London blue topaz, red garnet, or amethyst. Or surprise her with an exquisite butterfly necklace. The wings are accented with blue sapphires. Visit us for a meaningful Mother's Day gift, tied with a burgundy bow and ready to give.
Now you have a friend in the jewelry business. Shane Company and shaneco.com.
When you need a new roof, especially if you have storm damage, the last thing you want to hear from a roofing company is that it's going to be weeks or even months before they can get to it because of supply issues. This is Garen Armstrong with Shamrock Roofing and Construction. Supply issues are no issue at Shamrock. As one of the largest roofing companies in America, we stocked up early and we stocked up big. That means our warehouse has everything we need to do your job now. And because we stocked up before the supply crunch, we paid a lot less than anyone looking for roofing supplies now and can share those savings with you. No one in Kansas City can install a better roof at a better price with a better warranty than Shamrock Roofing and Construction. Let our local family serve your family. Shamrock Roofing and Construction, 913-850-6556, 913-850-6556, or online at shamrockroofer.com.
This is Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco.
Headlines with the Internchin is pretty good. I think that's what we're gonna basically create next.
That sounds like an action movie, like The Equalizer or something.
Ooh, you're right. The Internchin.
Revenge of the Interchin.
That's good. That's the sequel. Can we get a third one? What's the third movie called?
Well, you know, The Interchin Strikes Back.
That's pretty good.
On Sports Radio 810 WHB.
This particular Internchin, I'm afraid, is going to strike back by hitting the thermostat at some point. I know, Intern Adhel, that the temperature of the studio has literally always been an issue. It was an issue when you arrived. It will be an issue when you leave. But I want you to know that I today did not personally, I have not touched the thermostat here. I walked in, we set up the mascots, I sat down, we started doing radio. So it's just sort of cold outside again today. I'm sorry.
I think you haven't messed with the thermostat because you're okay with the temperature right now.
Fact.
Let's do the headlines. Intern Adhel brought headlines and decided to, I guess, pretty much just sell out my whole game there all at once. Yep, I had no response for that because you're 100% right. How do you feel about today's headlines?
Pretty good.
Scale of 1 to 10.
I'll give it a 7.8.
Be an improvement on the first segment of the show. Let's start the headlines.
Headlines! I've got headlines over here! Do you want a headline? I've got plenty of them! Got breaking news here! Hey, you! You! You want some breaking news? What about you, old lady?
What's the first headline pulled straight from the newspapers? I really do respect and appreciate that you went and cut out individual headlines out of newspapers and then brought them in with you today.
Of course. Okay, my first one is Venus flytraps. Never heard of them?
No. I'm just very intrigued. I can't wait for. I have owned a Venus flytrap ever so briefly.
Really?
Yeah.
What?
Didn't last a whole long time. It was a miniature one, but I got it as a gift. I did my best to keep it alive. Eventually, it didn't make it.
Didn't give enough flies.
Okay. All right.
Oh, how's that supposed to know that's what they ate? Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Go ahead.
You're good. Okay. So Venus flytraps. They are the most common. Their most common meals aren't flies. They're carnivorous plants, so they can digest meat. Did you know that?
So humans.
They can digest meat?
No, I
like
mean,
Little Shop of Horrors?
Okay. No, more like crickets, spiders, worms, ants, beetles, like slugs.
We can eat those things.
Yeah.
We will on Thursday.
They're excellent indoor plants, so I don't know how yours died.
I don't know either, but that's thrilling. Is that a headline or just a factoid? Is there a headline specific to it? I'm happy either way.
Okay, they're harmless to humans. They change colors according to their needs, and they're very smart plants.
They change colors?
Yeah.
What does it mean to be a smart plant?
Well, they can eat.
They like pick and choose how to like devour their prey.
They set up traps.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, that's fascinating. Was there a headline? Is this a story? I'm sorry. I think I interrupted you after you said the words Venus flytrap.
We might have ruined the headline portion.
What was the actual headline again?
Venus flytraps.
Okay, so I mean that is just the headline. It doesn't. That feels more like a name of a thing and less like an actual headline to me. There's no verb unless it's Venus
flytrap.
Venus flytraps are the best indoor plants. How about that?
You wrote it yourself. Yeah, no, I mean you passed. That's great. I love learning about Venus flytraps. I was just confused and also completely enraptured by this beautiful plant.
Hey, you, mister, you need some news. I've got news here. Just ask me, please. I need to give out news.
Next headline.
All right, okay, I'm going to talk about QT's egg rolls, or just the headline is QT's egg rolls. They only cost 99 cents per egg roll. They're delicious with Sprite. Pork cabbage and carrots are in the egg roll, and those three combinations just explode in your mouth. They're super convenient, and the best egg rolls, the best QT egg rolls are in the QT in Olathe, and then the one on 75th Street. And last week I ate 5 in one day.
So I was thinking today, because I thought, well, we're going to have us do the 2 bits again the rest of this week. I was thinking, well, but I do feel like Adele didn't really like leave us with like her own bit. And I was like, oh, I really feel like we should have just given Adele like we should have found a way to have her give us her own bit to this show. And I feel like Adele's TED Talks have become a thing. Like we have to work on a portmanteau or a pun or something. But you're just here to teach the world something today. You ate 5 quick trip egg rolls in one day?
Yes.
This is the best show I've ever done.
They're so good.
Okay, I'm thrilled. Yes, fantastic. I love everything that's happening in this segment.
Hey, you look look like you haven't been paying attention to the news lately. Do you need a newspaper? I bet you do. Here's one. Take it. No, why are you giving it back?
Okay, this is like headlines meets shot clock reviews. It's all good. What's next on the list, Adele?
Okay, I kind of did it like a shot o'clock.
That's okay. I'm really loving it. I'm loving it.
It's
and
perfect.
The only good part of this segment anyway is Beards' imaging, R.I.P. So I'm okay with just being Adele teaches us things.
And when we do shot clocks, I want headlines.
Okay.
Great. Absolutely fantastic.
All right, okay, I'm going to talk about this drinking game. It's called Last Call. It's one of the best drinking games. So basically, the game is played like you answer ridiculous questions, you compete in like hilarious challenges, and yes, you drink. So you basically just like shuffle the cards, go around the room, drawing from the top of the deck, and then you follow the instructions on each card. An example would be like, last person who used the bathroom has to drink, and most likely to base their life decisions like on their zodiac sign has to drink.
What's it called?
Last Call.
Seems like a good game.
I think I actually played this like a week or two ago.
A week or two ago?
So, because I played a game that I had never played before, and I don't know if it was officially called
Like an Easter
Last
Sunday
Call.
celebration or
No,
what? When are you? Okay.
It was a friend's, like I guess our friend of a friend's. My roommate, his girlfriend's friend was moving into a new house.
Thank God I got to the bottom of that.
They had a ton of liquor that they were trying to get rid of. And so that's how that went. But anyways, yes, it was kind of like where it's like, who's most likely to, and then you point sometimes at people when it's a who's most likely question, and you start to find out what people really think of you.
Yes, exactly.
Like who's most likely to be basic was one of them. And then you 1, 2, 3, everybody points at who's the most basic.
So what did you drink?
I just whatever you have.
Whenever they said that you were basic, which honestly is what a basic person would say.
No.
You're too quirky.
I did not
and fun
get the
for that.
basic. I did not get the basic one.
Okay, this is great. We're gonna keep using Beards' imaging, and I feel like as long as you don't give scores out of 10, it's not a shot clock review. It's not timed. This is just things that you need to make sure people know about.
I literally just put 2 and 2 together, and I did shadow clock instead of headlines.
No. You solved the problem.
This is the Adele Independent Review.
Okay.
Yeah.
With her, these are stories written by Adele.
All right.
No, this is just. No, it's okay.
These are in headlines somewhere.
This
it's just
is
the food review section.
This is just Adele tells you what's good. I think that's excellent. Just make the urchin make a noise again.
You look uninformed. Here's a newspaper.
I don't remember that one at all. I've never heard that one before. Okay, Adele, inform us about something. That's the one. That's
Okay,
perfect.
Okay. All right.
You are the newspaper on this one.
All right. I'm going to talk about cell phones, okay?
Yes.
So the first cell phone had only 20 minutes of battery life. If you suffer from the fear of having no cell phone signal, that means you suffer from nomophobia. And the fastest texter in the world can type a 26-word message in 18.9 seconds. And the first commercial cell phone came out in 1983 and cost $3,995.
I think I could beat that.
How many words in 18 seconds?
26.
No, you couldn't.
I think I could beat this.
You think you want to go get the world record right now?
I think I could beat this.
Back in the day on my God, I'm about to sound like a million years old. Holy bleep! But yeah, I'm Pete Enoch now. On my BlackBerry with the actual tactile keyboard with a little roller ball, I could
the BlackBerry.
Oh, I could type so fast on that little sucker.
Good phone.
What was your first phone, Adele?
I had a flip phone.
What kind of flip phone?
It was a Nokia.
What kind of Nokia?
I don't know. Just a Nokia.
Okay, Nokia flip phone. Rudy.
I've told this story. I had the Motorola Razr with a dragon etched onto it. It was so cool. I was the coolest kid in school.
I had the silver Motorola Razr, and I still miss it. I think that might have been the peak of all of this, and it's been
Mine was silver as well, but it had just like a dragon
etched into the back of it.
Just like, I'm so cool.
Also, I think that your Nokia flip phone probably works better than my current iPhone does.
No, the battery life is amazing. I think I didn't even have to charge it for like a week, and it still was, fine.
We've regressed as a society.
Hey, you! You need some news! Come get the news from me!
How many more do we have?
2.
All right, well, hold on. Don't say them yet because the music is really important.
Okay.
How you guys doing?
I'm good. Rudy, how are you doing over there?
Just killing a little bit of time.
Uh-huh. Why are you having to kill time? Maybe somebody forgot to start looping the music again and then just needed to... And we're back. Go ahead, Adele.
Here's another headline.
All right, I'm going to talk about The Goonies. Have any of you seen it?
Yo, I've seen The
Classic.
Goonies.
I haven't, and I hate because every time I say that, somebody shows up in my Twitter mentions.
Down here, this is our time. Down here.
You guys can talk to each other about it. I'm gonna turn away.
I watched it earlier this morning while I was studying.
You watched it this morning?
Yes.
Studying to do this show.
Okay, so it's about a pair of brothers that they hope to save their house by going on a treasure hunt with their friends. In the movie, you probably won't know, Josh, but it took 5 hours of makeup for John, who played Sloth, to be transformed into the character. And I just have a question. Rudy, do you think Sloth was like a incest mutated child? Because I just want to know, why does he look like that?
Is that a common time? Tweet! Hold on.
It's a fair question.
Hold on. Is that
It's a fair question.
Is that a common theory? Or is
probably.
that your theory?
No. I think it's common enough because what I think it was.
How do I Google that? I can't.
So, do you remember what is the the disease like when you're there's a movie about it, it's just like
elephantitis.
I think that's what Sloth. I think that's what they're going
No.
off of, kind of. But that is 100. Also, there are horror movies like The Hills Have Eyes, which are largely based on like the family keeps reproducing through incest and stuff, and they look very much like Sloth does.
At the very least, Adele gets credit for just absolutely Leroy Jenkinsing through that. She's like, hey, so what do you guys think? This is the most we've talked about incest on this show since Game of Thrones ended.
My guess is because it's a children's movie. That is not what they were going with, but also it's totally fair for anybody to ask that question because I think that is 100% what your first thought would be.
Remember 20 minutes ago when I said I love it when people tell us that this is their kid's favorite show?
Oh, boy.
Oh, God.
Kids watch Goonies.
Is this the last one?
Josh, this is our time right here.
Is there one more? How many more are left?
Time.
There's one more.
Who's tired of the news? Do you want a headline instead?
What's the last one? Hit me with the last one.
All right, I'm going to talk about this show, Hell's Kitchen.
We're back. We're back. I'm more of a Kitchen Nightmares guy personally, but I'm here for Hell's Kitchen also.
Okay, well, basically it's a reality TV show about a British chef who yells at people while cooking at dinner. There's this one famous line, and I don't want to shout it, but he's like, where's the lamb sauce?
Hold on. Don't say Adele. So I want you to take that one more time, and I'm going to need you to deliver it in the way that you think
really
it is.
Put yourself
You
in
asked the question, is Sloth from Goonies? You asked that with more confidence
With
than
more
you just
gusto.
yelled. I want to hear your Gordon Ramsay now.
Okay.
I'm moving away.
Okay. Where's the lamb sauce?
Thank you. Thank you. Good. All right. Now we also have our liner for whenever we force you to come on the show with us at some point in 3 months to just see how you're doing.
Or maybe on Thursday. Who can say?
Oh, that's a quick turnaround. We can do that.
Have either of you guys seen this new Netflix show? It is hosted by I forget his name all of a sudden now, but he was or is on SNL, just simply called Is It Cake?
I've seen a couple episodes of it.
I haven't seen it yet.
Have you watched it?
It's amazing.
It's terrible.
No.
It sucks.
It is so good
It's horrible, dude.
So here's what I'll say. It is so good because it is so bad. Like literally the first episode, I wish I remember the SNL guy's name.
Yeah, I can't.
He's spinning around and he's like, and I will see you guys in like 5 seconds, and then it does like 4 seconds of credits, and he comes spinning back around. He's like, "See, I'm already back."
It's Mikey Day.
Mikey Day.
And it's horrible.
It is so good how bad it is.
What else do you know about Hell's Kitchen? I can't talk about Is It Cake.
It's a Netflix original. Just go watch it.
Don't watch anything else. Go watch Goonies instead.
Good movie. You need to watch Goonies. You haven't even seen it.
I gotta finish.
You watched Is It Cake?
I gotta finish Is It Cake first. I gotta see. There's too many loose threads. I gotta have.
Have you found out if it's cake or not?
No, that's the thing. I'm waiting on the freaking knife's edge. I gotta find out if it's cake.
Plot twist at the end.
There's no way it's cake, man. There's no way it's cake.
Huge plot twist.
Anything else, Adele? Is anything else in Hell's Kitchen that we need to know about?
Yeah, there's a Gordon Ramsay restaurant in Kansas City, inside Harrah's.
Yeah, I knew about that. I
didn't know that.
I've not been, but I knew it was out there.
I've been to one of his fish and chips places in Vegas before. It's very good. It was just kind of like Chipotle if you got fish and it was like
Chipotle.
No, like Chipotle is fancy fast food, right? Like you just it is like that type of you walk it is a fast food place technically, right? But you don't feel like you're going to McDonald's or anything. But it's fish and French fries.
I think if Gordon Ramsay heard you call his fish and chips place Chipotle, he'd come slap your head between two pieces of white bread and call you an idiot
This
sandwich.
is not a high class. This is literally a you do not eat inside the place. You walk in, you grab your food, you walk out. Like it is you are in and out in 2 or 3 minutes. This is not high class.
But is the fish good?
Oh, it's great.
Okay.
It's so good.
It's earnest food.
But
Chipotle's
great.
It's made with love.
I mean, it is a chain. It is a fast food chain. It is classified as fast food.
Oh, Gordon Ramsay's gonna be pissed.
Yeah, I don't think
It is literally they have classified it as fast food. It is Chipotle, but for fish and chips.
Okay.
It's very good.
Boy, this segment got as far away from me as any segment has ever gotten away from me in the history of the show. That is saying from other people's doing. You guys just took this one. Look, I accept it. I get it. Usually I push a segment away and then it just sort of drifts. I feel like today I walked in with my hands on the steering wheel and then all of a sudden Adele birthed the new segment of Adele's TED Talk or whatever we're going to call it. We can continue to workshop that. And then now Rudy's telling us that Gordon Ramsay's fish spot is like Chipotle.
Which is great. I eat Chipotle 3 times a week. Yeah,
just
twice.
Let the Internchin
Love Chipotle.
say the last
so
thing.
So good. Does he say anything?
No, just have him say. Yeah, you gotta kick the cabinet, and you'll remind him.
I don't even know what a newspaper is, but I know where to get all my news. Right here.
Great work, Adele. Sorry this internship has been so bad for you.
It's been fun.
Yeah, in quotes.
Did you know you can listen to Almost Entirely Sports anywhere, anytime? Well, you can. Just search for Almost Entirely Sports wherever you... This is Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco.
This show's free. It's a free show. If you don't like shows sometimes.
On Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Okay, so a few things here. First of all, from Mizzou on the YouTube, fast casual is what Rudy was trying to say.
Yes, thank you, Mizzou.
But I don't even know that I would call Chipotle could be fast casual.
Chipotle's fast casual. 100%.
But like Chick-fil-A identified itself as a quick service restaurant, a QSR. You know, you've got your different ways you can slice and dice all this up. I'm on the website for Gordon Ramsay Fish and Chips, which is the name of the restaurant. And it looks delicious.
It was so good.
But there are lobster tails on here, and I don't think you can serve. If you're serving lobster tails, fast casual is something. But like I would say Chipotle was like the Mexican Subway, because like the way you order and everything.
But that's, I'm telling you, this place, you order like that as well. Like you don't sit at a table, you are in a line. You move down said line behind a sneeze bar or sneeze guard like a Chipotle. They grab the little, like, it is everything like that.
It looks really good.
At least the one I went to, right? Like, I'm sure there were like maybe 3 tables in there, because like the whole point of it was a pretty small building. Like the whole point is you walk outside and you eat it while walking around. It's served in one of those little, the little, you get them at like at a baseball game, the little
like a little box like that,
full of French fries,
open top box, got some little sauce.
Yeah.
I'm looking at pictures of them right now, and I'm thinking like I ate
so
before
good.
the show tonight, and I'm staring at all of this like, oh boy, I don't know if there's a price I wouldn't pay right now to just get, a big box of fish and chips to just show up in front of me.
Go to Gordon Ramsay's Fish and Chips if there's one nearby. I know there's one in Vegas. I don't know if they're literally anywhere else.
Yep, there's one
They're
more.
good.
It's in Orlando.
So close.
I don't even think that's closer.
It's not.
I think it's probably farther than
Definitely is.
Vegas, right?
I'm pretty sure.
Well, sorry we're not going to play any Brett Veach audio this hour. I got to Google this.
If you're flying to Vegas, you're going into a wind. If you're flying to Orlando, you got that current behind you pushing you, baby.
I'm going drive time, I think.
I know Denver is about 8 hours. Orlando's close to 20. Like 21, maybe. I've driven to Orlando. It sucked.
Straight drive, no stops, whatever here.
Nevada, I'm going to guess, or Las Vegas, let me guess, 13.
Kansas City to Orlando.
21.
18 hours and 22 minutes. That's not that far off. I would not.
Not terrible.
What was your guess for Vegas?
Let's go with 12.
Kansas City to Vegas, just driving. 20 hours, 18 minutes.
Really?
Now,
that's because you're driving into a headwind.
That is 1,350 miles, Orlando being 1,237 miles away.
Interesting.
We are pretty close to equidistant from Vegas and Orlando.
Would have never guessed it.
Where else do you think we could get in that time? Great question. Not to any of it. Should I navigate specifically to Gordon Ramsay's Fish and Chips at these restaurants? Okay, so I think the best thing, Rudy just said that we've got 2 minutes left, and the shortest Brett Veach clip that I cut from today was 1 minute and 22 seconds, and I want to talk about all of them. So the good news is tomorrow's show is pretty much planned out. Just as long as, Bill Self doesn't retire and Zach Greinke doesn't retire. I don't know. I'm just picking a couple things. And then also tomorrow night, Game 2, Suns-Mavs. Let's go. Suns in 4. Suns in 4 watch.
Probably 3, honestly.
Suns in 2.5. Honestly, I thought the game was over halfway through the first quarter last night, or 2 nights ago.
When I was walking out of this building, there was
last
night. When I was walking out of this building, there was 2 minutes left in the first quarter, and I was like, "Yep, Suns won."
Yeah, this game, that game, it was not as close. Listen here, folks. Don't let the lamestream media lie to you. Okay, that score at the end was not representative of what that game actually was. Maybe that could be what we're talking about. Also, in Golden State, Memphis, there was already one ejection, and it wasn't Draymond.
Ooh.
And in the Bucks game before that, there was a gnarly tackle to the ground arm twist. So things have gotten chippy out here.
Playoff basketball.
Just in time for Jay Crowder to come out tomorrow and look like he got shot the first time Lucas sneezes on him. I love Jay Crowder.
You know who's leading the playoffs in scoring?
Jay Crowder.
Jokic.
Still
31 points per game. I think that's going to hold up. largely because he's no longer playing basketball.
Oh, you're going points per game.
Yeah,
I thought you meant total points scored.
per game. Yeah,
which still might, I don't know. That sometimes that happens whenever you're your only teammate.
Yeah.
It's sort of how I felt last segment, you know? We'll take a break. What was that?
You needed us.
I don't know that I did. Seth Keysor next.
You're listening to Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco on Sports Radio 810 W.
Country. Sports Radio 810, WHB Kansas City, the power of sports.
Now it is time for very serious football talk with the man who hates money almost as much as he hates the idea of a healthy sleep schedule.
You will find Seth Keysor everywhere except for in his or your bed, because not only does he not sleep, he's also a faithful husband. So that's important.
The man who has so many children, his wife figured he wouldn't even notice if she bought a few chickens and ducks for the backyard.
We could have an episode where we just have my children appear on the show in ascending order. So we'll do like a minute of Lucas, then 2 minutes of Isabel, then 3 minutes of... Man, I have a lot of kids.
The man who does all of this while being a lawyer in a state that has snow all 12 months of the year.
Until it
freezes, I'm okay. I actually felt very at home driving through southern Iowa. It was snow everywhere, and people were slowing down to like 40. It was adorable. I was driving slowly, but I literally was hanging my head out the window screaming, and that was disconcerting.
It's Seth Keysor of the Chief in the North newsletter, The Athletic, and the Times Hours podcast on Almost Entirely Sports.
I really underestimated, by the time it was all said and done, how beautifully joyous it was going to be to actually have new football players to talk about. I know that this was only sort of a problem for you, Seth Keysor, of the Chief in the North newsletter and the Times Ours podcast, but because you were doing like wide receiver draft crushes and all of the scouting of, looking at some players ahead of time. But man, I think I just had a problem with hypothetical players being added to this team, and I am just genuinely joyous I think that's a real word, to be talking about new actual members of this football team. It warms my little heart.
It is absolutely a fun thing to do. It is, as soon as you know who they are, but let me just say one thing, that it is more fun when you like the players they picked.
Yeah.
Not as people. I just want to clarify the way I framed that.
No, Seth hates all these dudes as people. All these dudes, he thinks all these guys are terrible people.
It's a matter of when you like the picks as they were made. It is a lot more fun to write about Trent McDuffie and George Karlaftis and Sky Moore. And, man, I've looked at some Brian Cook, and everyone's focusing on that. Well, we can talk about that later. Leo Chenal, that dude is a maniac.
Yeah.
And he's fast, too. Now, we can talk about lateral agility, improving things in coverage. We can talk about that. But he can move. Darian Kennard, I think he can play. Joshua Williams, that dude is a giant who can move. As you go down guy by guy by guy, when you love the what the picks look like, and then later in the draft it becomes more of a projection, right? Mm-hmm. But grabbing a couple of defensive backs with promise that you think are athletes in the 7th round, a running back that ran a sub 4.40. You grab running backs in the 7th round, Josh, right?
Yes. Oh, I loved it. He's one of my favorite picks out of the draft, in part because his introductory press conference, he said he was willing to take another grown man's job. I am all about your 7th round running backs. I love 7th round running backs.
Look, if you're gonna grab a running back, that's a time to do it, especially when you're just taking you wouldn't even call it a risk. A 7th round pick is not a risk. No. When you are just utilizing a rather minimally valuable asset, a 7th round pick, on a running back that you don't know much about but was productive in college and is fast. Yeah, see what happens. Of all the positions in the NFL where you've got guys that have come out of nowhere, running back is it.
Veach said he thought there'd be a 1,000-yard rusher out of the undrafted guys. I'm sure he would include Pacheco in that now of, the guys that could have been nearly undrafted, but that they swooped in. Let me tell you, before we get fully into the draft, I think I've told you this before, but I will repeat it now. I've said it on this show many times. The only thing that really does bum me out in retrospect about our entire sort of just running back in the 1st round experience, the only thing that bums me out is that I think people now believe that I don't like running backs, and I love running backs. I've always loved watching running backs. I just think that we have a lot of evidence about where they're valuable at this point. And it bums me out because, you draft one in the 7th round and then somebody's going to tweet me like, oh, bet Josh is furious. No, I'm fine. He seems like a blast. I'm just glad they didn't take him instead of taking Trent McDuffie.
I just don't understand why you hate running backs, but one day you'll get out of denial.
With friends like these.
I've often told my wife that one of my greatest weaknesses, and I have a few of them, or quite a few of them, is my choice of friends. Because I genuinely, so I feel that. I hear your pain. But really, we understand the only scenarios where you're going to get remotely close to your value if you take a running back, say, in the 1st round. And when I say close, I mean even close, because odds are you're not going to get that value, is if they are a transcendent talent or have a transcendent skill set that really allows you in an important area to really raise the ceiling. It's still a luxury pick by and large. The Chiefs thought they were in position to do that after the 2019 year, and
while it didn't hurt their offense, it didn't do what they wanted it to do. And that's the problem is you're not even taking a risk. Like, it's more of a risk in terms of trying to fulfill a niche, right?
Yeah.
You're taking more of a risk in that you need a very specific set of circumstances for it to be worth it. And if you miss it all, then, like, say if you miss with a wide receiver that you think is transcendent. Turns out he's not transcendent. He's decent, but he's not transcendent. A decent wide receiver has significantly more value than a decent running back. And so there's multiple facets where that risk exists. And I think that's something people need to understand when you're talking about value and where you pick guys. It's not that you never pick a running back in the second or third round. It's just the situation needs to be pretty narrow, and you're taking a bigger risk and acknowledging that risk, comparing it in terms of opportunity cost to other things you can do. That shouldn't be called hating on a position. So see, there you go. I defended your honor.
It sounded almost enough like I'm sorry for me to live with it. So we'll go somewhere else then. Almost enough. If I bullied you right now into having a large scale take about this draft class and said, like, hey, look, you don't have to tie Trent McDuffie to Najee Johnson at the end. Maybe you can, but I mean that's 21 to 259. But generally, over the course of this entire draft class, is there anything that you feel like you, as a whole, that you see from the choices, from the strategy? What do you see as tying it all together?
I actually am considering writing about this once I get done reviewing the individual films for guys, because I do. There's one easy takeaway and one that I think is still pretty easy takeaway, but also just a little bit more nuanced. The first is you have to note, like you absolutely have to, that in, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 picks, 80% of those were on defense. 70% of those were on defense. I almost caught myself there. And of all the picks now in the first 5 rounds, which are obviously the more important picks, you've got 7 defense, 2 offense. This was an overhaul. This was an attempt at completely overhauling the defense. And that is something we knew was probably coming, but I wasn't 100% sure. So that would be one overall takeaway is, I mean, they knew they needed to throw numbers at a problem, especially the secondary, apparently, which is interesting because I kind of expected them to. I really thought in the second round there, I was sure when at the Brian Cook pick, which I like Brian Cook a lot. Like, I'm excited to write about him. He does more than just hit hard. He's got a lot more range than I expected. He lined up back-to-back snaps. The first 2 snaps I watched, he lined up in the box, and then he lined up as single high. But anyway, I expected them to take Travis Jones there. He's a defensive tackle, and you never want to like fall in love with one prospect,
sure,
because you're talking about hundreds and hundreds of dudes. But he was one of the only prospects that really met the criteria, other than like guys that got drafted like in the top 20, of a gap-eating, block-eating defensive tackle that had a little bit of juice as a pass rusher, right?
And then he ended up going to the Ravens, so you know he's going to be good now. Like, that's just going to be annoying.
Well, the Ravens, I swear, one reason they get so much credit for how well they draft, if you actually go back and look at their drafts after the fact, like a couple years later, their success is a little more than other teams, but not a ton. One thing they do, they draft the way draft media likes.
Right, yeah.
And that gets you a lot of good coverage. And that's only natural, right? Of course I'm going to say, hey, I really like this guy. And they picked him, so they're clearly smart. Because that's all we know at this point, is our pre-draft evaluations. So instead they took Brian Cook, and then in the third round they took Leo Chenal instead of, another defensive lineman or whatever. Now we can maybe draw conclusions about what they thought of the pass rushers or defensive linemen in this draft. Maybe. What my conclusion is, when I look at Trent McDuffie, and George Karlaftis, which we should talk more about what an athlete he is.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't have good bend, and he does not. He does not. People are underselling what an athlete he is. He's an excellent athlete. He's just not a bendy athlete, and there's a difference. But he is an athletic player. When you look at McDuffie, you look at Karlaftis, you look at Brian Cook, you look at Leo Chenal and Joshua Williams. Like, even just full stopping there, right? They knew
or at least from all appearances, that they needed to get much faster on defense. Much faster and much more athletic. Because if you say, I mean, McDuffie, say you're swapping out him for Ward. I don't think he's going to fulfill Ward's role right away. Ward's a plus athlete, so you call it even there. But you talk about Karlaftis instead of whatever else they were going to put at defensive end there. Mm-hmm. He's a superior athlete at the defensive end position, even if he's not bendy. Brian Cook, much more athletic than Daniel Sorensen. Leo Chanel, much more athletic than Ben Neiman. Joshua Williams, a really athletic, big defensive back that they're bringing in. You see a bunch of intentionality here at getting not just younger and more talented. Of course, that's what you hope anytime you flood the draft with these guys. But speed and guys who are just absolute glass-eating maniacs. Those seem to be, I mean, they've got an intentionality here about what they did. And I like that.
Yeah, well, so, and also, let's just follow straight up on Karlaftis, because I'm glad that you said that. I recorded a podcast earlier today with our friend Matt Conner over at Arrowhead Addict. It's not coming out until later in the week. But we ended up talking about Karlaftis quite a bit. I was, of course, referring to some of the stuff I'd already stolen straight out of your notebook up in the Chief of the North newsletter. There's the McDuffie, the Karlaftis, and the Sky Moore film review all out now as we speak up there, with more still to come, so go check that out, mnchiefsfan.substack.com or bit.ly/SethReallyHatesMoney if you want to get it for $12 a year, and it locks in at that rate forever. None of what I just said was a typo. You heard me correctly. bit.ly/SethReallyHatesMoney. But when we're talking about Karlaftis, I've made the joke that I've reused 1,000 times, which is that he moves like a bulldozer, but he also bends like one. But also, what I don't want to have happen here, and I think we're of the same mind on this based off your piece, I don't want people to confuse him with just a Neanderthal that just George run fast. No, he's his handwork is actually really intriguing. Even it pops off the tape in a way that, as someone who is not constantly grinding through film, I can notice. But the other thing, as you just mentioned, dude is fast. He is fully athletic. This is not a Breland Speaks pick, and that would be my one concern with whenever we do talk about the bend, is that people are going to go, oh great, they drafted Breland Speaks 2.0, when that almost couldn't be farther from the truth, right? That is not fair.
No, that's not fair at all. Breland Speaks, I'm going to pull this up right now. And so RAS, the relative athletic score, that's not the end all be all, and it doesn't cover everything. But if you compare him and Breland Speaks, and I'm seeing if Breland Speaks,
yeah, I have it actually here right now. So there's. It's interesting. It depends on if you look at him as a tackle or an end, but at MathBomb on Twitter, Cantley Platt had it. He put up elite scores as a defensive tackle, but as a defensive end, his score out of 10 was a 3.96.
Right, and you just you look at some of the problems that he had in terms of basically all of it. Basically anything that you want in terms of trying to. Your 40 time wasn't great, your 20-yard split wasn't great, but your broad, your shuttle, everything was this dude cannot move the way we want him to move. There's a 0.3 difference in seconds in the shuttle, which maybe doesn't sound like a big deal, but when you're dealing with under 5 seconds, 0.3 seconds is a huge difference from Karlaftis to Breland Speaks, right? You just end up in just very different categories, shall I say, in terms of athleticism. A 20-yard split of 2.69 instead of 2.81. In 20 yards, that matters. But then also, I mean, really, it's the broad. The cone, I think, would have been unkind to Karlaftis.
He did. There's a reason that's not on his chart, I think.
There is very much a reason he didn't do that. But, a vertical difference of 6 full inches. These are not guys who rank the same in RAS. And so, honestly, I get why it freaks people out. But the other difference between the two of them is that Breland Speaks had tape that was... I'm an optimist. And I struggled going through his tape, and I was like, I'm not seeing it. I don't see what the...
I just don't see it. He's got heavy hands, and that's literally it. He didn't use those hands well. He didn't show the ability to string together pass rush moves. He didn't show the ability to really bull rush guys very well. He didn't show the ability to corner at all. And I don't mean necessarily in terms of bend. I mean even like having a good first step. He didn't show the ability to make an inside move. He didn't show the ability. They're just two very different players. George Karlaftis had excellent tape against solid competition. In fact, some of his best tape was against like Notre Dame, where he dominated Notre Dame. If you want to see a game where you're like, holy crap, and you see the idea with him, turn on Purdue versus Notre Dame, because Karlaftis was unbelievable in that game, and that was despite all the attention they were giving him. Whereas Breland Speaks never had a game like that, even against lower level competition. So that's obviously such a huge difference between the two of them. But they really are different types of athletes. His Karlaftis' speed grade overall was considered great because he had a really, really good 20-yard split. He had a solid 40-yard dash, a solid 10-yard split, a solid shuttle. And when you combine a bunch of solid, that turns into a great when it comes to athleticism. It's kind of like a Sky Moore situation, right? Where you're good at a bunch of athletic things, that helps you in terms of your overall score.
So what do you think is a reasonable expectation on Karlaftis? Because you've just tempted me with the Sky Moore conversation. And honestly, I feel like at least last night on the show, we spent way more time on the defenders than we did on Sky Moore, which sort of surprised myself. I want to make sure we get plenty of wide receiver talk out of you. What's reasonable on Karlaftis?
I think what's reasonable, like any other rookie, it's reasonable to hope that he is an above-average pass rusher.
How soon?
Year one. He is he's very developed. He is a guy that knows how to utilize his hands, who's got the heavy hands thing. I keep coming back to that, but that's because one area where I see young defensive ends especially, and defensive tackles as well, when they come into the league and they struggle, is that they can't seem to jar opponents. They can't seem to win the hand fighting because they just get dominated with the hand fighting or just not having strong enough hands to displace, which is just a lot harder at the next level. These guys are awesome offensive linemen. The worst offensive lineman that's starting in the NFL is probably better than anyone most of these dudes faced in college. They're bigger, they're stronger, they're faster, they have better technique. Karlaftis is refined. He knows how to string pass rush moves together. He's got heavy hands, and he's got good quickness. He also can move around a little bit, and that's going to help him in year one. If there are some struggles in certain spots, okay, we'll move him around. We'll have him maybe rush, in between the tackle and the guard. Have him take advantage of that quickness inside where he doesn't need to bend because it's a straight line, right? Those are things that he can do that will allow him, I think, success, especially if they bring back Melvin Ingram, which it looks like they really want to do. Ingram also has that positional versatility on pass rush downs, and that allows you to fiddle around with him. So it's reasonable to hope that he'll be that. It's also reasonable to think that he might, like most rookies, be relatively subpar out of the gate. That's reasonable. But he's got the tools to be good in year one.
Real quick on the bend thing, can you just explain why you do not have a bunch of optimism that that's something that will get better between ages of like 21 through 24? Why you haven't seen that very often?
I don't think I've ever seen a player get better. Like getting more flexible isn't something that generally happens to us as we get older. And that includes because people talk all the time, prospects aren't finished physically at 21. But most of that is with regards to strength. Maybe some speed. Maybe you get a little more explosive, but most guys aren't a whole lot faster at 25 than they were at 21. Stronger? Absolutely. But this isn't about strength, it's about flexibility, and I just haven't seen that develop a lot. One thing I've seen in two different situations, I watched D Ford become better bending around the edge. For him, though, it was more a technique thing. Because he always had some flexibility. He just didn't know how to utilize it. He also learned to dip his shoulder really well and take advantage of the fact that he was a really good athlete. Another guy, and Chiefs fans aren't going to like this, but keep in mind he was a different player pre-Kansas City.
Yep.
Frank Clark never had any bend.
Yep.
Well, he had very little. But he learned how to corner well by utilizing either a good shoulder dip
or by leaning effectively on the tackles as he cornered, allowing him to keep his bounce, which he was able to do because he had really good functional strength, which you know who else has really good functional strength? George Karlaftis. Now, Chiefs fans aren't going to like hearing that comparison, but it is one to keep an eye on. And like if his ceiling is pre-Kansas City Frank Clark, I'd take that.
Yeah, I would take healthy, younger rookie contract Frank Clark. I think expensive, multiple first-round draft pick Frank Clark was the issue. That was the problem. A guy who has not been healthy or productive for more than a 3-game stretch. That's not the issue. Seattle Frank
absolutely.
Clark would be great,
I think a ton of Chiefs fans, if they turned on Frank Clark's 2018 film, they'd be stunned at how good he was.
Yeah,
and that just is it. The way he won with power and all that. Now, Karlaftis doesn't have quite the same overwhelming strength that Clark did at his heyday, but he does have better technique. Whereas Clark was kind of reliant on that long arm. I had one offensive lineman tell me that once that long arm got figured out, he was going to struggle. And that's kind of what happened, as well as whatever it is he's been struggling with recently. I kind of half expect, but I've been half expecting this for 2 years running, for him to come back stronger next year. It seems at this point, it's weird because he's 28. And I know we're going down a certain road here, but Frank Clark is 28. And it feels like he's been washed for like 2 years.
Yeah.
This should be his absolute apex as a player. But Karlaftis, he has a higher ceiling than I think he's getting credit for because he's a better athlete than he's getting credit for. Quickness does matter. If you're quick, you can get away with some stuff even without bend. Are you ever going to be a bendy guy around the corner? No. But you might be able to do some inside-outside fakes where you're cutting inside or getting them to commit inside and still going around the corner. Be with that quickness and explosion. And he does have those things.
We talked about McDuffie quite a bit on Times Ours, so we can make that a little spot for cross-promotion / we'll get back to a bunch of this class just as you keep reviewing more. We'll keep talking to you on Tuesdays, and eventually we'll get through this whole class. But I really do want to know what the Sky Moore process was like for you. I'm also, start with me on day 2 of the draft, where the Chiefs are about to pick at 50. They've got several receivers just sitting there. They trade back, and then it is Sky Moore, one of the only receivers from sort of the consensus top couple of chunks of this class that you did not pre-review coming into the draft.
Yeah, the only one. I don't know another dude that was one of the consensus top 10 that I did not review.
Listen, if you want to tell Bill Belichick that Tyquan Thornton is not a top tier wide receiver, who is the player they took at 50, by the way, then I'll leave that to you.
I think that everyone now knows that Bill Belichick and the Patriots have their own draft board. And I know every team has their own draft board, but the Patriots is just they do their thing, and that is it. They could not care less. And I'll just be honest, that is missed as often as it's hit for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially at receiver.
Yeah, at receiver, it doesn't bother me too much that they went a different direction than Belichick. I think one thing it tells us is that they weren't in love with George Pickens.
Mm-hmm.
As much in love as the fan base was. Of course, they traded back knowing that Sky Moore was there too. So does that tell us they weren't in love with Sky Moore? Or does that tell us that they had a really good idea that Moore would still be available 4 picks later? Mm-hmm. Or does it tell us that they loved both Pickens and Moore and they knew one of them would be available and they didn't care which one? Or sorry, I'm having too much fun with this.
Did they love Alec Pierce? They might have loved Alec Pierce. I don't know.
Did they might have loved Alec Pierce. My theory, or maybe they knew that they would be able to convince Justin Ross to join the Chiefs and that his 2021 film looked an awful lot like George Pickens' film, if we're being honest. That's actually his 2021 film. And I think he was playing hurt, and there's a lot of questions about whether he'll be as explosive as he was. We're talking 3 years ago now, when Justin Ross was super explosive. But he honestly looked a lot like how Pickens looked last year, back from his injury. Yeah. So that's just worth thinking. Now, I'm sure they didn't think, thinking that far ahead. But I wonder, maybe they liked Alec Pierce and George Pickens and Sky Moore, and they said, okay, unless literally the 51, 52, and 53 picks are all receivers, we're going to be fine.
Yes.
And then or I don't know.
Could have been something else. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe they really had a feeling. But Sky Moore, honestly,
and this is, I'm never going to be able to prove otherwise. I'm never going to be able to prove this. Sky Moore would have been the number one guy in my second tier of receivers. He would have been. He would have beaten out Mechie. He would have beaten out Pickens. He would have beaten out Garrett Wilson for me. But I'll never be able to prove it. And so that's frustrating. But I think he would have been.
If that helps.
I think Mechie actually would have been my number 2 guy. Like, I would have taken, and I know Pickens, it is interesting watching what happens when a fan base falls in love with one pick.
Yeah.
And there were some people very angry on Twitter in my mentions that they did not take Pickens. I get that. I think Pickens is a good prospect. I actually like Moore a little bit better.
A little more.
I very intentionally avoided that. So it's he just does everything that you want well. There is nothing that he struggled with. Maybe his footwork at the top of breaks could use a little work. He doesn't separate at the top of breaks quite like you'd expect, although he does separate a little there. But he separates at the release point so well that tells me he's got the physical capabilities to separate at the break, when he makes his cut. I think that's a footwork issue. But the things that he does super well, he catches the ball incredibly well. He accelerates really well. He's got decent top-end speed, and he gets away from corners at the line of scrimmage. He releases really, really well as anyone in the draft class. And those are super great traits for translating to the next level.
So if you had to give, within whatever reason, but if you were going to give kind of a best case, worst case scenario, I think that's one of the things that I'm having the hardest time picking my lane on Sky Moore. What is a somewhat realistic but very high ceiling best case? What's a somewhat realistic but very low floor worst case?
Worst case scenario, I'll start with that, is he's a bust and does virtually nothing. Can't get on the field over Juju, MVS, Hardman, and whether it's Ross, more likely one of the other guys already on the roster. That's worst case scenario.
If I had to prod at that a little bit, I guess I would say what do you think the cause of that would be?
I think the cause of that would be that the issues he showed separating at the top of routes becomes much more pronounced at the NFL level, and that the quality of competition issue really does turn out to be he really was just beating up on really bad corners and defenses.
Sure. Okay.
And that's just it. I mean, he certainly appears to have the physical goods. He tested really well. He plays fast, but you just never know until you see someone hitting that quality of competition. Yeah. And that would be my biggest thing, is that it really was he was just beating up on guys who were subpar athletes.
Okay, so best case, then that make me feel better.
Best case scenario, I mean this, best case scenario that there's an outside shot of happening in the Chiefs offense is 1,100 yards and 10 touchdowns. 1,200 yards. I could see him doing that. His skill set is tremendous for Patrick Mahomes. And it's tremendous for specifically what the Chiefs need. They've got a niche guy in MVS. They've got a niche guy in Juju for the most part. At least that's what Juju's been the last couple of years. I know he took a one-year prove-it deal to kind of show he's not a niche guy, right? That he's more like what he was his first year in the league, or his first 2 years, where he was a deep threat out of the slot, all that stuff. Sky Moore has the ability to line up inside and outside. He's got the ability to run 9 routes well. He adjusts well to the ball. He catches the ball well, but he gets open quickly. It really served him well in an offense that was largely based around RPOs in college. He could really be a target consumer. He genuinely could be a guy that grabs between 80 to 120 targets as a rookie. And that would allow him to be incredibly productive. He moves pretty well after the catch. Not really a tackle breaker, but he is a tackle shaker, and I like that just as much. Yeah. And so I really do think he has a high ceiling, even as a rookie in this offense, because his skill set looks refined. His ability to make cuts down the field without losing speed is impressive, and something he didn't get to show off much in college because it was such an RPO-based offense. So the ceiling is very high here.
I know you got to go, and because I really don't want to be the reason that your marriage eventually splinters is because you spent too much time on Almost Entirely Sports. But, I mean, it would be funny, but I don't want it to happen.
Yeah, I mean, it would at least make for good content afterwards.
It really would, and your schedule would allegedly maybe free up some. So maybe I do. But last thing here before we let you go, like, you might have to repeat yourself on one of those elements, but when you say, like, a perfect receiver for Patrick Mahomes, like, what specifically makes you say that?
Sure. I think for Mahomes, guys that uncover quickly and catch the ball well, which applies to literally almost every quarterback. But him in particular, he's a guy who snatches the ball well, regardless of where it's placed. And Mahomes is a great quarterback with very good accuracy, but does at times get shaky placement because he is a guy that's going to be running around, making throws that no one else can make. So the ball gets there when no one else could get it there, but it's not always going to be there right where the receiver would ideally get it. He shows the ability to adjust that. He also shows that ability to, and this is more not just Patrick Mahomes, the Chiefs offense in general, being able to uncover quickly. That's something that they've struggled with outside of like Tyreek and Kelsey. They've needed guys that can get off that press immediately and be open. That's something that he seems to, at least the college level, to be able to do. And with a guy who makes decisions as quickly as Mahomes, who's not as much of a meticulous quarterback usually, who's just getting the ball out and making a decision and going, barring pressure, then he just runs around and does insane things. I think Moore is a really good fit for that. But it's really the hands issue. He's got great hands. And that most quarterbacks it's going to be a great fit for. A guy that fires Scud missiles at people, it's especially great for.
Seth, I will literally hang up on you right now, and I'll tell people where they can go get all of your wonderful work. Thank you for your time here this Tuesday. I look forward to next week when we can talk about 3 other players maybe. We'll just work through this draft class a little bit at a time, and maybe we'll get through it all by the time training camp starts.
That sounds awesome. Thanks for having me.
Seth Keysor of the Chief in the North newsletter. You can follow him on Twitter at RealMNChiefsFan. And, of course, listen to the Time Czars podcast. Wherever you get your podcast, you can just search for Time Czars. Again, right now, up in the newsletter, it's not just any of these one guys. I can't believe that we finally had a first round. This is just hitting me now. This is just hitting. Just stick with me on how dumb this is. The Chiefs traded up for a first-round cornerback. And again, Seth and I talked about this plenty on Time Czars, so maybe I just had my own memories already taking over. But the Chiefs traded up for a first-round cornerback, and we barely said that man's name on this edition of Almost Entirely Sports. And that's just sort of objectively hilarious to me. But you should go read that. It gave me the clearest picture of Trent McDuffie that I've gotten on any level from anyone, pre-draft, post-draft. That will get you completely up to speed from what Trent McDuffie can do and why what he does is unique. We've talked about some of it over the course of these last days and a half here, I guess, on AES. Plus, you get a closer look at George Karlaftis as we broke down here. You put some video clips to the breakdowns. I think you'll really appreciate what Seth applies for you there. And then again, Sky Moore, the full breakdown will begin to open your eyes, I think, to some of the things that we just now touched on. It legitimately is $12 for a year of the newsletter. If you go to bit.ly/Seth Really Hates Money, that's really the link. And that'll take you straight to the spot where you can sign up for $12 for an entire year, and it doesn't jump up to $500 after you renewed for a year. It'll just stay at $12 until I can eventually convince Seth to charge more for his work, because Lord knows it's worth more than that. But, you know, he's willing to give it away for $1 a month if you go and go sign up for that. So far be it from me to tell him that he can't do that. I'll tell him he shouldn't do that, but I can't tell him that he can't. We'll take a break. More AES after this.
Take the show with you wherever you go. Listen live on the Sports Radio 810 mobile app and 810WHB.com.
Hi guys, it's Andrew with Oak Ridge Medical Clinic. Is erectile dysfunction damaging your relationship? Are you sick of the pill and all the side effects? Well, welcome to the future. We have a major medical breakthrough. Oak Ridge Medical Clinic uses the most advanced form of wave therapy. Backed by 60 clinical studies, our technology uses pressure waves to repair and open up blood vessels. We've helped countless men get rid of their ED. But what is the true end result? Their relationship, even their lives, improve drastically. If you're ready to regain your love life, call us right now, and not only will the assessment and ultrasound be free, we'll also give you a gift that produces immediate results in the bedroom. It almost never fails. This is worth $550, and it's free to callers right now. 913-295-8000. That's 913-295-8000. Put a stop to your erectile dysfunction and experience what I call the happiness ripple effect. Call Oak Ridge Medical Clinic now, 913-295-8000.
Hey KC, this is Jack Johnson from The Shift on ESPN Kansas City to inform you about Active Family Chiropractic. It's one of the few places to have high-intensity laser therapy in the area. They have worked with Olympic athletes, multiple Major League Soccer teams, and some of your local favorites. Their treatment has seen a lot of success with sciatica, headaches, migraines, arthritis, plantar fasciitis, and tendinitis. Whether you are struggling with pain while walking or trying to get back in shape, Active Family Chiropractic can help you get there. Get treated like the pros and call today at 913-681-6013.
Hi, I'm Fred Ramsey.
And I'm Mark Tobin. Hey, folks, if you're not busy Saturday mornings from 6 to 7 a.m., well, I hope you'll join us for the Midwest Outdoors, brought to you by Reed Chevrolet St. Joe.
Join us and our expert guests, and we'll be talking about hunting and fishing, dog training. We'll give you tips, pass along stories, and most important, share some laughs along the way.
That's right. We cover it all, from crappie to waterfowl, and we'll tell you how to cook it, too.
The Midwest Outdoors, brought to you by Reed Chevrolet, Saturday morning, 6 a.m. to 7 a.m., right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
It's the 29th annual Car Star Mocan Charity Golf Event on Thursday, June 16th at Adams Point Golf Club in Blue Springs, supporting the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. Visit your local Car Star today to get your foursome registered or call Lisa at 913-685-2886. Enjoy a great day on the course supporting the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. It's the 29th annual Car Star Mocan Charity Golf Event, June 16th at Adams Point Golf Club in Blue Springs. Sign up at your local Car Star today.
Get your car out of the garage and cleaned up this spring with 11% off automotive products at Menards. Turtle Wax Max Power Car Wash can provide maximum strength cleaning for any car. The more you use, the stronger the cleaning power becomes. $4.99 after sale price and 11% rebate. Get 11% off everything now at Menards. Good through May 8th. Savings are mail-in rebate. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Save big money at Menards.
Sports Radio 810 WHB is bringing the national champion KU basketball players to Rockhurst High School Friday. You can get your tickets at barnstormingtour.com. Tickets are all inclusive with autographs, player meet and greet, Q&A, and an interactive experience. GA and VIP reserved tickets are available. Upgrade your VIP experience with dinner with the players after the event. Join Sports Radio 810 WHB Friday when we bring the national champion Kansas basketball players to Rockhurst High School. Visit barnstormingtour.com.
Jayhawk fans, this is Bill Self. If you have an urgent orthopedic or sports injury, the University of Kansas Health System is open, safe, and has extended hours to see you quickly. Your injuries deserve treatment from the experts who treat the Jayhawks. Request an appointment at kansashealthsystem.com/sportsmedicine.
The University of Kansas Health System is an official healthcare provider of Kansas Athletics together with LMH Health. Request an appointment at kansashealthsystem.com/sportsmedicine.
Hi there, Gary Giles with Giles & Jewelry. Everybody knows Giles & Jewelry is the place to buy an engagement ring. Thousands of diamond rings, quality second to nobody. Come on into Giles, 95th and Antioch, right in front of the big high V. Giles & Jewelry, we're the jewelers you'll recommend to your friends and family.
Giles Jewelry for the best that's yet to come.
Dell Technologies wants to celebrate all your hard work with these Small Business Month specials. Get great value offers on powerful laptops, desktops, and servers with Windows 11 Pro starting at $499, plus top monitors and docks, all with easy financing options through Dell Financial Services. It's the perfect time to upgrade so you and your team can stay secure from anywhere. Call a Dell Technologies advisor at 877-ASK-DELL. That's 877-ASK-DELL to refresh your business tech with these Small Business Month specials. Dell recommends Windows 11 Pro for business.
Today on Hey Culligan, how smart is your water? Here's Tracy.
Hey Culligan, I think my water might be dumb.
Good news, Tracy. Your water's not dumb. It's just not talking to you.
You can make my water talk.
No, but the new Culligan Smart Drinking Water System can talk to your phone to tell you when your water filters need changing and help you meet drinking water goals.
Now that's some brilliant H2O.
You said it, Tracy, and we're already on the way. Let us help you out with a free in-home water test with the local Culligan water expert at Culligan.com.
Whether you're looking for energy savings or updating your home office or man cave, One Stop Decorating is the place for beautiful, energy-efficient window coverings. One Stop Decorating offers free in-home or virtual consultations, or you can come into one of their 3 beautiful showrooms to see all the window coverings in their Hunter Douglas galleries. Ask about smart shades that can be controlled by Google, Alexa, and HomeKit. 913-270-0408, 913-270-0408, or onestopdecorating.com. Your home, your windows, your style.
This is Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco.
But that's not where this show makes its money. You guys know that. We make our money talking about the Chiefs. And dunking on people on Twitter.
On Sports Radio 810, WHB.
Thanks again to Seth Keysor for joining us as he does every Tuesday. Chief in the North newsletter, mnchiefsfan.substack.com. I have been trying to get him to commit to writing the Justin Ross film review that would have to be an interesting one. From what years are you pulling from? What version of Justin Ross are you getting? What level of injury and everything? There are multiple layers to it, but as we brought you some Brett Veach audio earlier, I saved this one for late in the show because he was asked about Justin Ross today. If you don't know, Veach says early in this audio, everybody kind of knows the story. Well, if you don't, for some reason, he was an absolute bat out of hell, I think they say, in his first season at Clemson. He was a first-round talent. Dabo Swinney said as much. That was relatively obvious, but then he ends up having this tingling sensation in his neck and back and ends up having a very serious issue with his neck. He ends up having surgery for that, and then at that point, that is a huge question. At some point, it's recommended that he doesn't, that he stays away from contact activities again, and now he's trying to get into the NFL as a professional football player. And those things might not all add up in terms of your safest logic for what you do after you suffer this injury or you just have this issue. So he ends up getting back to Clemson, and you hear in here that Veach will also mention a foot injury that I had not really heard very often as people were talking about Justin Ross through the pre-draft process. But if he would have been able to go one and done, he would have been a first-round pick. Mm-hmm. And now at the end of 7 rounds in the 2022 draft, he went undrafted. And we were talking about this. He was the only name that I think me and Jack Johnson said multiple times on our Saturday coverage of the show here. It's like, man, you know what? I'd love to see him double down at receiver. Justin Ross still on the board. Maybe. Before we get to Veach here, Rudy, is there anything that I've missed, important context on the Justin Ross front?
No, I mean, I just again, I remember going back, especially in the college football playoffs. I think was he had a good freshman year, but it was especially in the college football playoffs, which makes sense, right? You're going up against the elite competition, right? That is the best of the best, and he shined. Yeah. In a playoff full of 4 teams with elite talent and tons of current to former NFL players, probably Hall of Famers in that group, he really stood out. And it sucks, right?
Yeah, it's horrible.
It really sucks for him. And I hope that I want him to catch on with the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs, unless he is just terrible, hurt, whatever, my guess is the Chiefs hope he is with them for the full year. Yeah. Whether that's active roster or practice squad, that remains to be seen. I hope he's able to build himself a long NFL career because, there's just the talent there at a position. The reason why, again, they got him, so I'm not mad about anything.
Yeah,
I still would have preferred they drafted him in the 7th round just to make sure you get him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you just don't see that kind of talent in that part of the draft generally, right? And there's a reason why he's there.
Yes.
Injuries, but you just generally don't see guys with truly actual talent. Not undrafted. There's going to be an undrafted guy in this year's draft who becomes a star or a Pro Bowl, right? That happens all the time. but a guy who actually you can look at, you're like, no, that there is talent there. Not
That's who you would bet on.
That is
talent. So with all of that being said, there's also, you could say, hey, it's very, very, very rare that a player goes that late where everyone says, man, that's a first day type of talent if it wasn't for this one thing. The Chiefs ended up with one of those guys last year in Trey Smith. And so now, look, you're going to have to hang with us for, we do not play 3-minute long chunks of audio very often on this show, but also people don't give 3-minute long answers very often on this show. Or just in the world of press conferences. So you're going to get 3 straight minutes of Brett Veach talking about Justin Ross right here from his press conference earlier today. And I just think it's super interesting on about 15 different levels. I've listened to this 3 or 4 times now. I've spent a decent percentage, a rounding error still, I guess, percentage of my life listening to this audio because I just think there's a lot in it. I want you to hear from Brett Veach himself, and then I'll tell you what I find so compelling about this clip.
Yeah, I think with Justin, everyone kind of knows the story. He's certainly a really talented individual that had gone through his share of injuries at Clemson. And, one thing, if we kind of go back to last year in the Trey Smith setup, I mean, I've always said that our docs are on the more conservative side. And, we spent a lot of time, and I know our docs at KU spent a lot of time talking to the experts that dealt with Justin, and he's cleared. And I think I think when you take away the next situation, and again, our docs did a great job of exhausting all the information, and I think for me it's a little easier on how I operate. I know how good our medical staff is, both Rick and his crew and the docs we have at KU. That if they tell me yes, I feel good. If they tell me no, I don't try to become a doctor all of a sudden and try to say, well, this team said this and that. No, if our docs say good, we're good. And Rick and his staff said they're good. I think one of the things that popped up was a foot, and so that hindered him late in the season. And then I think he really didn't have time to test and train. I think so. I think it was a combination of a lot of things why he fell, and obviously most of it had to do with couple seasons ago with the neck, but I think then you throw in the foot and not having time to test. But listen, I know his agent very well, Tory Dandy. It was Sammy Watkins' agent, and we stayed in touch as the draft went on. And then when the draft ended, he was just kind of going through some different options, and we just stayed in touch. And then yesterday we just we connected again, and he had a chance to just review all the offers in the landscape of where everything was, and he decided to come here. So as far as expectations, I mean, it's like a lot of these guys. I mean, whether you're a first-round pick or second-round pick, I mean, you got to come in here and learn the playbook, and you have to have the confidence in the coaching staff to execute your assignment. You have to have the confidence in Pat, for him to trust you to execute your assignment. And if he can do that, I mean, I think talent-wise, as long as he stays healthy, he'll have a shot. But it'll just come down to him and how he handles the playbooks and being moved around and staying healthy and being diligent in regards to looking ahead and preventative things that he can do for his body. But I mean, there's a lot of these guys that are really in the same boat, in that when you come in here, it's a combination of talent, being smart, staying on top of the training. And that means when you're away from the facility too. So like a lot of these young guys, if he does those things, given the talent he has, I mean, he should be able to come here and potentially contribute. But I think that's the beauty of a 90-man roster, where guys get to come in and we always felt like we'll keep the best players, and it doesn't matter where you're drafted or where you were selected. I mean, if you guys if that individual is going to come in here and earn a spot in the team, we'll be good with that. But I just think it'll be a very interesting competition for only 5 or 6 spots, and I think we have a lot of talent there.
There's just a lot of really interesting stuff in there from Brett Veach, like to the point that I have written out like 5 sub-bullet points. So one, we mentioned Trey Smith, but I wasn't sure if he was going to. He names Trey Smith there and says like this, making it a comparable thing from the Chiefs side. I think that's noteworthy. He notes that this team typically has more conservative doctors. They're not going to roll the dice on a bunch of guys and then see what if something backfires. He's been cleared from Veach there, and from the doctors, obviously. I also love that Brett Veach threw a little line of, I don't try to become a doctor all of a sudden. I feel like that's advice that lots of people probably could have used over the last several years, if I'm being honest. They stayed in touch with Justin Ross's agent, the same agent of Sammy Watkins. So with all of that being said, I know this is like a really silly, like fan who just started following the draft sort of thing to do, where you see a receiver drafted in the 6th or 7th round or an undrafted free agent from a big school who got a touchdown and a highlight you remember. I know that this is not good money to bet on, I think this guy's going to work out.
And what is workout, right?
But right, like make the active, be on the active roster in 2 years. Yeah, if he's on the active roster in 2 years, and I feel like I would be lying to myself if I wasn't excited about it. Yeah. It makes too much sense. They like the medicals they feel okay about. That's the only reason he wasn't on more people's boards. Yep. And it's a literally zero risk move. Yep. And we just saw it work with Trey Smith. So like I feel like I should not be excited and optimistic quite to this extent, because I know that almost every time your undrafted free agent darling ends up not even being on the roster past the 90-man. But right now, the pieces seem like they've come together.
I mean, the thing is, again, somebody in this undrafted free agent class is going to make the team, and somebody in this undrafted free agent class is likely going to be on the Chiefs 2-3 years from now. My guess is, I don't know this for a fact, my guess you look at every year, there is a single undrafted free agent who is with that team who he signed with for multiple seasons. Justin Ross has more talent than those other guys. Now, he has more risk than those other guys in terms of whether or not he can be on the field because of injury.
Right.
But he clearly has more talent at a position that only has 2 guys locked up past this season.
Cornell Powell was a 4th-round pick last year. He's currently on the practice squad. Right now, if you said who would you rather bet on, I think I'd probably bet on Justin Ross.
Absolutely,
because because you've seen all that talent there, and that is me valuing him a level higher than a 4th-round pick last year from the same freaking team. Like I don't know, and I'm not completely out on Cornell Powell. I'm never out on any receivers. That's what I can't help. But ultimately, I thought that was interesting. I wanted you to get to hear from Brett Veach. Now we got to get out of here. We're back again tomorrow from 7 to 9. We'll talk to you then. Then Suns Mavs games 2. It's going to be 2 of 4, so don't plan too far out in advance. We'll talk to you then. Bye, Mom.
You're listening to Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco on Sports Radio 810 WHB.